All right, and welcome. I am Oliver from the Videoguys live production team. And a little bit of a recap if you missed the pre-show. This is the Ask the Videoguys edition of the Videoguys live webinar. Obviously, we go live every week to our Facebook and YouTube pages with the latest news and cool new products in the live streaming or video editing realm. But we also like to take a moment every month or 2 months to answer some of the questions that we receive day in and day out. I am not Gary Batan, who regularly hosts this show, but I am a member of this team that works on all of the productions and answering questions. If you've sent us an email or commented on our social media or talked to us on the chat on the website, chances are you've talked to myself or Adam, who is mixing the show today. So we are the people that can get back to you with the best answer to your question, some different workflows. And we're here today to talk about some of the cooler stuff that we've been doing recently on the production side and some of the things that we've received some questions about. So how do you submit a question to Ask the Videoguys? Well, these are all questions that we take during the weeks. And the ones that we think are relevant to a lot of different people, we bring to this show and we answer them. So let's pull this up full screen so everybody can see how to ask us a question. You can always send us an email at sales@videoguys.com, and that's any question. But if you have something you want answered on Ask the Videoguys, make the subject line Ask the Videoguys. We also answer all of our YouTube comments at Videoguys, and we are very responsive on Facebook and Twitter, videoguys.com for Facebook and Videoguys for Twitter. Now, without further ado, let's jump into some of the questions that we've received for this week's show. And Terry via email asks, I keep seeing ads for different HDMI to USB converters, all of which seem to do similar things, but all at very different price points. Do you have a recommendation? And this is a great question that we get asked quite frequently. There are a lot of different great products that change HDMI signals to USB signals so that you can stream with a traditional HDMI camera and bring it in as a webcam source. This is perfect for if you're streaming directly to, say, Facebook or to YouTube, or if you're working with OBS or Wirecast and you want to bring in just a regular traditional camera source, but you're running it on a computer workstation. Now, there's a lot of different solutions that we could go into, and we'd definitely be happy to over the phone at 1-800-323-2325. But one really cool solution that we've recently found in our workflows is the RGBlink Mini and Mini Plus. These are usually used as traditional switchers for live streaming, but they do feature a USB output with no additional drivers necessary. This means you can feed in 4 HDMI signals to the RGBlink, and you can feed them to your laptop as a webcam signal. There's no drivers, as I said. It's a really quick plug-and-play solution that we're really big fans of. We wanted to bring that up on this show because we have some questions coming up that really focus on the RGBlink. So these are a great solution. They give you a little bit more flexibility in what you're trying to do as well. And we're very, very big fans of the RGBlink and the RGBlink Mini. Following up, Alex on Facebook asks, you've talked in the past about building a video conferencing cart for events and lecture capture so that remote participants can join and feel included. Our participants can't hear us with the background noise. Any advice on this setup? And we definitely have some great advice for that. We've talked on past shows about building out your own AV cart. This is something that we think is really great for schools or corporate meetings, as well as if you're running an event and say some of the people that want to be at the event can't join you in person. Zoom is the way of the world now, and having a Zoom production cart can really up the quality past a regular Zoom call. This is a workflow where you could take a Surface laptop and plug it in via HDMI to your TV to see your Zoom call, and then bring in a higher quality camera like a PTZ camera in 4K like the Panasonic UE4, which is the one that we use on our cart, or just a regular PTZ camera, or even a USB-based camera. Now, when you're talking about hosting an event that is loud, sometimes it's difficult for your participants to be able to hear you the right way, which is something that we've run into in our own workflows. We use a cart just like this, and I actually have it set up. Adam, if you want to cut to our cart, you see here's our cart on the side of our studio, and I'm going to go into this in just a moment, but you can see that we have a Zoom call going on our cart that's feeding from our laptop. And actually what's cool about this and what we've done recently, if we come back to me, is for audio, sometimes it's difficult for people to hear. It's a really good tech tip to plug in an external speaker either to your TV if you're using embedded HDMI for your audio, or to your laptop so that people can hear the participants on Zoom. However, it's also important to remember that echoing is a fact of life. And if you're using an external speaker, you might also want to go with an external microphone located a little farther away from your speaker so that your participants can actually hear you as well as you can hear them. Now, moving into the cart, because this question has a follow-up, Alex also asked, we also want to add more cameras for a better setup and to hold engagement. So let's take a look at our setup. And actually, I'm going to head over to the cart because I today have a wireless microphone on. So for our cart here, we actually have multiple cameras, and you can see that Jen is joining us on Zoom, and we're feeding her our camera feed here from our Panasonic UE4 up on top of our cart. But I can also change the feed that Jen is seeing with the RGBlink Mini Plus, which we talked about before. So right now she's seeing our static camera, but I can also feed her, we did a roaming camera that's fed in with a 50-foot HDMI, which I have right here. And I can move this around. This is great for if you're hosting an event and you want to show people what's happening. I now have this camera feeding in right to my RGBlink, which feeds into my Zoom call via USB. So let's take a look at the workflow that I have up here. And we actually did a diagram of this. You can see to set up this multi-camera workflow, you have your laptop hosting your Zoom call, displaying on your TV, and we have our UE4 mounted on top with the Panasonic CX10 feeding into the RGBlink with an external microphone. Now, let's talk a little bit about how the actual setup went down. We've actually put together a video creating this cart for a recent event we held here. So Adam, let's roll that video and get into this workflow. Our AV conferencing cart features a static camera in the Panasonic UE4 and a roaming camera hooked in through a 50-foot HDMI with the Panasonic CX10. Both of these HDMI devices are feeding into the RGBlink Mini Plus. The RGBlink Mini Plus fed into our Zoom call via USB. This makes it very easy for us to switch cameras based on what we want to show our participants on Zoom. On a laptop that's connected to a TV on our cart via HDMI. When it comes to audio, we hooked up two external computer speakers through a 3.5mm audio jack to our laptop in order to hear our guests. We didn't want echo feeding back to our guests from our speakers, so we hooked a shotgun microphone to our Panasonic CX10 and then relegated that as the primary microphone with the RGBlink Mini Plus. This meant that no matter what camera we were on, we were getting audio from that microphone, which was farther away from our speakers, preventing echo, making this a very easy setup that anybody can use to elevate their remote participants at any event. Alrighty, so again, we are more than happy to talk about this workflow or any of the other workflows we showcase on the show today. You can always feel free to give us a call 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, at 1-800-323-2325. And if you dial extension 1111 or 1119, you'll reach either Adam or myself to talk about some tech tips and different workflows and getting you set up. Now, before we go on to the next question, I do want to take a look at the Facebook chat. I'm seeing a lot of love for the RGBlink Mini and Mini Plus from Betty Wang. Awesome. We need a good setup for live streaming multiple cameras for a small church. Well, we actually do have a church question coming up, but before we get into that, I do want to point out that the RGBlink Mini is a great device for streaming to your church and bringing in multiple different cameras. Super easy to use, especially since a lot of churches have volunteers as their production teams. Another great device to look at would be something like the Epiphan Pearl Mini if you're feeding in from a soundboard. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about some of these different workflows in our next question too. Of course, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-323-2325, and we'll be able to go into that further. And I have another question on YouTube. Carter on YouTube asked, I noticed you have live captioning on the stream right now. Is there a local solution or remote service you recommend for captioning? We actually don't have live captioning on the stream currently. If you're watching it with captions on YouTube, that's actually generated on Google's side. But if you weren't streaming to YouTube and you wanted to stream somewhere else, say your website or to Facebook or something that didn't offer live captioning, there are devices like the Epiphan Script Sync that would be really great solutions. So we do have them here. You can definitely give us a call and we'll go into those a little bit further. Now moving on to the next question. Tyler via email asked, I'm streaming at a church with live music from our choir and I need to plug my soundboard in. What do you recommend? So this is a really great question. Adam from our production team actually recently did a live stream with live music. It wasn't in a church, but some of the advice that he can give you might help your solution. So I'm going to turn this over to Adam. And Adam, why don't you tell me a little bit about your workflow?
Hi, everyone. I'm coming in. There we go. I'm also mixing the show, everyone. So that's a lot of fun. Hi, I'm Adam. Last week, I hosted a show going over a lot of the details of what we did and the workflow that we did going in from the band that we were shooting, which was a live event, and how to bring in audio mixing. But one of the ways that we discover it, one of the most common ways to discover it, is you hook in directly to the audio mixer that the band has or that the venue has, which isn't always possible, don't get me wrong. But because of that, we used a CX10. Do we have the workflow?
One right here.
Yeah.
And the workflow, here we go.
Yeah, let me throw that up full screen. This is the workflow that we actually did. And what we did was we had the sound system going in via line-in into our CX10, and then the CX10 was being fed in via HDMI into our RGBlink Mini, and then that was going into StreamYard. The event was, they were using StreamYard to stream to Facebook, and what they did is they would send us a link and we were able to join. Because we used the RGBlink Mini, we're able to go in and bring it up like a webcam since it has straight USB out. So that really simplified the workflow. But on a CX10, you also notice that it has XLR inputs on it. If you purchase the CX10 normally, bless you, that would work. However, the sound system didn't necessarily like the XLR out that day. So that's when we went to line-in, which was really simple to just plug into the unit. A lot of units have line-in, including the RGBlink Mini. A lot of video switchers have line-in as well. So don't ever think that you can't do it because you don't have XLR. There's always many other options for that as well, and that includes houses of worship, which I believe was what this question was directed to. They often have sound systems too. If you're discovering that your XLR input isn't working, well, there's always line-in. Cameras always usually have a line-in jack as well, and you can just bring them in via HDMI since audio can travel over HDMI or SDI, whatever it is you're using. Now, I believe we have a couple of other options on here.
We sure do.
Yeah, just in case, if you're really looking to use XLR, which is what I recommend, by the way. We have the Roland VR-1HD, which that is a good, inexpensive solution where you can plug in audio. You can plug in your audio via XLR. What I like about the VR-1HD is that it also has a built-in audio mixer. So that way, if you have to do some adjusting, because what sounds good outside to everybody in your audience might not necessarily sound good when you're streaming on to YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is you're streaming to. So it's good to have a built-in audio mixer. The other one that we have listed are the Pearl Nano and the Pearl Mini. Both are great solutions. They come with XLR cables. In fact, Oliver, if you could hold one up really quick, I can show them off. Yeah, there we go. That's the Nano, I believe. And you have 2 XLR ports right there that you can easily plug your stuff in with no issue at all to get that good, clean audio. Because no matter what you do, XLR is going to be your best solution. But again, just to sum this up, if you absolutely need to use line-in, which is what we had to do for the band, you can absolutely use line-in. There's no problem with that. In fact, we have a clip that I'm going to play for you of the from the stream itself, a little clip to show you just how good the audio can be. And that had guitar, drums, lead singer, bass, everything in there, all coming into our camera via line-in. So you have some good options there. Let me play it right now.
Please don't go away.
Really, really awesome, really great workflow. And I do want to stress, you can use that even if you're in more of a traditional setting like a church choir. So definitely something to consider. Now, moving into the next question. Glenn via Twitter asks, I'm producing live sports. What streaming solutions do you recommend that still work from the sideline? And this is a really great question with a lot of answers. We couldn't go with just one because it depends on what you mean from the sideline. Now, for some users, the YoloLiv YoloBox is a really great solution for a workflow like this. The YoloBox is a tablet-based video switcher that brings in 2 HDMI inputs that allows you to use a 4G SIM card to stream. So you can stream with Wi-Fi or Ethernet if you're streaming from, say, a gymnasium, or you are able to run Ethernet out to the field. Or you can get a service plan on any SIM card and feed it into your YoloBox for 4G streaming. So that's a really great solution for getting started with something like this. And we have some other really great options as well, including Teradek, which has a bunch of different really great encoders, but 2 that come to mind are the VidiU Go, which you can think of as a pay-as-you-go model almost. You can pay for the bandwidth that you need and get cellular bonding as well as Ethernet and Wi-Fi, and you can stream with Teredek at a predetermined price that then you can pay for again when you need more bandwidth. There's also the VidiU X, which will allow you to bring in 1 modem with Teredek's own service. So again, these are really, really great solutions from Teradek that you can use for your live stream. But again, they fit into their own niche. And then we have another really awesome solution called the LiveU Solo. And what the LiveU Solo does is it takes Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular bonding, and we can bond all that together with LiveU's LRT technology as well. And I do want to address quickly, there are 2 versions of the Solo, and this is a frequent question we get on the phone. One is HDMI only, and then the LiveU Solo SDI can take an SDI feed or an HDMI feed, but only one at a time. And when you get into cellular bonding with something like the Solo, You start with the Solo itself at $9.95. Then you're going to add either the 2-modem or 3-modem kit. Now these kits have the capability to have a service plan from AT&T and Verizon that LiveU is going to facilitate for you. You'll be prompted to get that service plan when you go to register your modems, and that service plan for the 2 modems comes out to $295 per month or $435 per month. These modems get you unlimited access. So if you're someone who's streaming a lot, this is a really great option because it's real unlimited bandwidth without a cap as long as you're paying that monthly service plan. So there are a lot of really great options for getting started with live streaming sports, and I'd say it's one of the most common questions that we're asked here at Video Guys. So definitely feel free to give us a call, again, at 1-800-323-2325, or head on into our chat box, and Adam and I are more than happy to talk about any of these awesome solutions and get you a little bit more information. And another question, since we were talking about the YoloBox, Sarah sent us an email that says, I'm working with a YoloLiv YoloBox, and I want to add more inputs than just the 2 found on the unit. But I don't want to change switchers because I love the custom graphic capabilities. So this is a fairly common question. If you have something like the YoloLiv YoloBox, it comes with 2 HDMI inputs and a USB input. It's a very powerful device, especially for the size it is, and it also packs a lot of great features like custom graphics. If you're doing sports, it comes with a scoreboard as well. But some people want to add a little bit more flexibility, and this is where I guess a general tech tip would be mixing and matching can create really cool streams. When you add an RGBlink Mini Plus, for example, to the YoloLiv YoloBox, now you have 4 HDMI inputs that you can feed into that YoloBox that started with 2. You can also do things like chroma keying on inputs from the RGBlink, that then you can make it even better by bringing those into the YoloBox and adding on your custom graphics, adding on your scoreboard, and all the things that YoloBox has to offer. And the best thing about this setup is that you don't need a computer to stream it. YoloBox is an encoder as well. But rather than me talking about this solution, Jim from our team actually did a really great demo with both units in front of him, and we're going to cut to that demo now.
So now what I'm actually doing is taking 4 HDMI cameras. I don't have all 4 hooked up today, but I can take 4 cameras into the RGBlink Mini, take the output into the YoloBox for one of the outputs, use my other input on the YoloBox, and now I have up to 5 connections and my live streaming encoder, all in this tiny little area that you see right here in front of me that I can easily go back and forth to. I have an HDMI output. I also have a USB output. I can take the RGBlink Mini on its own, output the USB, and I can produce a multi-camera shot very easily. Now I told you right now what we're doing is using it, feeding out into that YoloBox to give us more I/O capability. In this setup and configuration, I do not need a computer system. The YoloBox is acting as my streaming encoder. So this is where I would set up my stream to YouTube, Facebook, or any other CDN.
Alrighty. So James via email sent us another question, which is, I want to create more automated lecture capture setup in my classroom. I'm willing to have it set up the first time, but I don't want regular operators. How can this be done? And this is a really popular question, especially for education. When you're a teacher that's trying to focus on teaching, maybe you don't have a production crew behind you to live stream your lectures, but you want to have something high quality for either your remote students or as a resource for students to go back to. Well, we're going to start by talking about some of the Pearl systems, and actually we have one right in front of me here with the Pearl Nano. And these are really great devices because they have a deep integration with Kaltura and Panopto, which can automate kind of the publication of your lecture capture. You can set times on when you want to start, and you can schedule things out. So you just have to walk into the classroom and hit record on one of these devices, and you can get started. So when you're talking about doing something a little bit more, we'll say autopilot, that you can set up the first time and then set it and forget it, these are a really great option. And I also want to talk about keeping things engaging. Camera movement's a big part of that, but a lot of schools don't have camera operators in every lecture hall, naturally. Well, there are devices like the HuddleCam HD SimpleTrack 2, which is a great camera for somebody in a lecture hall because it's so customizable and it's got AI auto tracking on board. This is a plug-and-play USB camera that can also be sent HDMI into something like an Epiphan Pearl system that's running with Panopto or Kaltura. And then you can customize elements on the SimpleTrack 2 to show what you want them to show. So if you have privacy rules at your school showing, and you don't want the student shown, you can set the SimpleTrack 2 to only show the teacher and not the students because they'll be in a safe region. Now, we recently hosted an event called the EduStream Summit, where we were joined by Paul Richards from HuddleCam HD and PTZ Optics, who talked about some of these workflows, specifically with the SimpleTrack 2 and with the Pearl Nano. And this was a workflow he brought to the table because SimpleTrack 2 itself can live stream if connected correctly. And you could bring that into Zoom or Kaltura or any number of locations. Or you could feed that into something like a Pearl Nano for really automated production. I want to talk about this workflow, but I'd actually rather hear it from Paul Richards. So we have a clip from that show of him bringing us through a lot of this workflow centered around the SimpleTrack 2. Let's take a look.
Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the SimpleTrack 2. It uses artificial intelligence, but it also has a lot of adjustability. One thing in particular I want to stress is the ability to customize it based on the teacher's preferences. So this camera right now is a SimpleTrack 2 set up to capture him head and shoulders, and then this camera is set up to do basically head to toe. Another feature that I'd like to show is the blocking zones and tracking zones. So in any space, most lecture spaces, there's going to be students. What we can do is we can set up blocking zones so that the camera never goes into those spaces. The touchless control and automation is just really cool. Again, it uses those tracking zones, those preset zones, to trigger a Crestron or an Extron or even vMix with a TriCaster to just automate things. This camera also includes live streaming. So while most of our customers are using USB, maybe they're using SDI and plugging that into an Epiphan Pearl, the Ethernet can stream RTMP directly to Blackboard, directly to Facebook. The Epiphan Pearls I wanted to mention have a great integration with Kaltura and Panopto. So again, you can get these similar levels of automation for your lecture captures by using an auto tracking camera with a lecture capture system that can automate the video publishing.
Alrighty. Now, if there are any further questions, and I'm seeing the live chat, I want to thank everybody who put in a question today to get answered. If you have further questions, remember, you can email us at sales@videoguys.com, and if you want that question featured on the show, make the subject line Ask the Video Guys. You can also reach out to us on all of our social medias, including YouTube at Video Guys, Facebook at videoguys.com, and Twitter at Video Guys. We're also a huge presence on Instagram, and of course at our own website, videoguys.com. You can get a live chat with myself or any of the members of our video production team. We are real people that use this gear day in and day out, and we know it front to back. We can definitely give you a hand with getting yourself set up. Feel free to give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. like this video, make sure that you subscribe and stay up to date because we go live every week at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to Facebook and to YouTube with some of the latest news on new products, new workflows. It's a really great resource, especially if you're diving into live streaming. I'm Oliver from Video Guys. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you for joining us for this week's Video Guys Live webinar. We go live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to our Facebook and YouTube pages with the latest news on live streaming, video editing, and video storage technology. Join us in the coming weeks for some great webinars on Atomos and SanDisk products. Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.